Hi, everyone. Welcome to One Drop at a Time.
We're a podcast that explores developing our relationship with the Savior and filling our lamp one drop at a time.
Thank you for taking the time to like and share our podcast. So, I'm going to tell a story about. So, Jenny found a book at the Eye of D. We always call it the Deseret Industries, and it was a little miracle book story. So, there's a young man, a young boy, and he was in up in some mountains somewhere, and he was supposed to be taking care of some horses that they had taken up to feed and in this kind of mountainous area, and then it was time for him to bring them back down to where they were supposed to be, whatever corral they were supposed to be in. He's in control, and then all of a sudden something spooks the horses and they just all start running. So now they're in full stampede and he's running behind them, and he prays to God, God, help me stop them. And almost within that breath, some guys come out of wherever where the horses were. Some people come out in front of where the horses were going, and the horses stop. And they were far enough away that the horses were like, they kind of disoriented, and it caused them to stop. And so then the kid, as an adult, is telling this story, and he says, and that's when I knew there was no God. And the person telling the story says, what do you mean? What are you saying? He's like, yeah, I didn't need God. There were just these people. They helped me stop the horses. And Jenny and I were just aghast. Like, what? And so was the writer of the story that included this as an intro to their book. It was just so interesting because how he interpreted what happened, because he could have interpreted it that he was blessed to have people come out and help him in response to his prayer. But instead, he chalked it up to luck and then deduced there is no God, because instead of sending angels or something that I would have known was God, it was just such an interesting conclusion. A tragic conclusion.
Well, and probably a pretty common conclusion in this world that we're in right now.
Yeah.
Because you do have people that don't believe in Jesus Christ, people that don't believe in a higher power, people that don't believe in miracles, people that don't believe in anything like that. And they would attribute it to, well, that's karma.
Yeah.
That's karma.
What is karma? Sorry.
Or that is
Karma's
that's luck.
Yeah.
That was luck. So we are, of course, of an opinion that miracles do happen. And you guys are too, because you're hanging out with us. By extension. It's funny because it reminds me of a story. Spring, it was about this time, it was February. I remember loading up a bunch of the packages in my car. It had kind of been chugging a little bit, and I put all the packages in my truck, and I drove down to the post office, and this rare occasion, because usually I park right in front of everything and just get my packages out and throw them in the bins. But this time, for whatever reason, I decided to park in a parking spot and walk my things over, my Truffle Cottage packages, and dump them in there. And I get back, I put the bag in the back of the truck, and then I get in and I start the key, and it doesn't start. I know that happens. It's probably happened to all of us at one time or another. And I remember thinking, man, what is going on? Like, of all the times, that's embarrassing, because now my car is at the post office, and I had to call him and say, when do you lock your gates? Because, my husband and I have to get a battery and get over there and whatnot. And we let it go till the morning, because they said, just come tomorrow morning. So it came tomorrow morning. We went and got a battery. We replaced it. The truck started. We got home, and I'm thinking, where's the miracle in that? Where's the miracle in letting my battery die?
Good example for searching them out.
But I have to tell you the miracle. Within that week, probably 3 days later, we were going to be loading up that same Ford with all of the chocolate we needed to take to Seattle to do the biggest show of the year for us. And I realized something. If that battery would have died on the road, man, would that have not been the worst thing ever? If it had died in Seattle, we would have had to buy it back. Okay, I don't know how to change a battery. I should, but...
And you got thousands of dollars of chocolate.
Thousands, yeah. Had it stopped on the side of the road on our way to Seattle. There were so many things that could have happened, and yet The little miracle in that story was that it happened before I had to go to Seattle. All of that we knew was gonna happen at some point, which I don't even know why I didn't even think about that at the time. That, "Man, I'm having a problem with my battery." But
And the post office is within walking distance of Jenny's
yeah,
house. I mean, it's not easy walking distance. It's easy, it's just not. It's not across the street, but it almost is. So she was able to have her battery die, get it fixed, and then go to Seattle with a brand new fresh battery,
yeah,
which is a 14-hour drive? Is it more than that?
I don't know. But
We didn't know what you're
it
talking
was
about.
a real blessing. It was a real blessing.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. So see how she decided, I'm gonna find the blessing in this. It's like Betsy's lice, right?
yeah,
The Ten Booms Corey Ten Boom says she's at the concentration camp and they have lice in their dorms, and Betsy says, "Well, there's a blessing in this." And she's like, "Over my dead body. There is not a blessing in having lice in the dorm." But it turns out that there was. Does anybody know what it was?
yeah, I know.
It's just so cool because the blessing was that the guards also knew there were lice in there and they didn't go and molest them. They didn't bother them. And so Corey and Betsy were able to share scriptures, have devotionals, just uplift whoever was in the dorm of the lice. And Betsy, I mean, this is a story that Corey's telling after Betsy's already died,
Yeah,
right? That Betsy was a searcher for these kinds of miracles. Let me see, why would God do this? How could God use this?
yeah.
And it was like, duh, after they applied themselves to figure it out.
Yeah. So I love this idea that sometimes it's changing the perspective of the situation. It's easy to focus on one or the other, but man, there's a beautiful story and the beautiful blessing right in the middle of all of that. Of
Of
that
that story,
of
huh?
that story, of my experience, of just different, different things. I think sometimes that I don't know if we want to talk about this too, but sometimes these miracles don't come in the way that we would expect, whether it's changing the perspective or whether it's, what is a miracle in different wrapping paper because we're looking for one and yet it gives us
Mm.
totally different type of miracle.
Yeah, like when we talked about the trip to Holland
Hmm.
story.
Yeah. Yeah.
And if anybody's seen our podcast before, we talked about this a little bit. So there's this wonderful story, and it was just written by a woman. Wasn't somebody that had some great reputation for anything, and she had had a baby, and I think the baby was Down syndrome or had some other serious disability. And she compared her experience. This is gonna make me cry. She compared her experience to expecting to go on a trip to Italy or France when a place where everybody goes. You can see the Eiffel Tower or you can see Venice, and you know all the stops that you want to go see, all the famous places. And it's time for you to go, and suddenly you've got a trip to Holland. And you don't know very much about Holland, and you don't know where you want to go, and you're disappointed that you don't get to see all the things in Italy or France or wherever. And she talked about how over the course of her life with this child that she had, she discovered all the amazing things about Holland, or all the amazing things about her child that had disabilities that couldn't do what everybody else's children did, but also brought her joy and love. And it was just such a inspiring perspective
Yeah.
on when your expectation isn't met, and God had shown her, look what I can do with this. So beautiful. So look up A Trip to Holland and read that story. It's great.
That's a beautiful story. So true.
We have a lot to put in our notes.
Yeah. Um, you know, talking about, different packaging about 2 years ago, maybe. I thought I had read a talk or heard a talk from President Nelson about giving up our favorite sins, I think it was. He talked about addictions and sometimes we will classify addictions as the addictions we can see in other people, like having a weight problem like drugs, alcohol, smoking, but addictions are deeper than that. Sometimes he said it's
Pornography, yeah.
yeah, it's going to the gym too much. Sometimes it's, playing too much. It's addiction is something that it clearly takes over our life or takes over a lot of our time. And I remember at the time thinking, okay, I put on I put on like 40 pounds. COVID happened and I didn't have the luxury of doing what I had trained myself to do, which was to go to the gym and live a certain type of lifestyle. And I put on 40 pounds. And I remember thinking, I would really like to lose 40 pounds. I don't want to go back to any of the ideas because I diet cycled all of my life. And so I went to God and said, I need some help. I need to lose 40 pounds and I need your help. I'd like to figure out a way I can do this that is sustainable, that, will help me. Oh, Lord, help me to figure out how to lose this weight. Help me to lose these 40 pounds.
This is serious because Jenny had some serious issues
Yeah,
with weight. This is a challenge from a lot of years. So it's not
yeah,
like just today I want to. This is yeah.
yeah. The very next day, it's so funny to even talk about. I woke up with a toothache. And this toothache was so bad that I could not eat anything. I couldn't eat anything hot. I could not eat anything cold. Like I could barely have a spoonful of cottage cheese. It hurt so bad. And I had to get on antibiotics and it went on for 2 weeks or so. After 2 weeks, I think I'd lost like 10 pounds. It was just funny because here I was bringing a situation to the Lord. And of all the things, I end up with a toothache. I mean, he didn't answer it in the way that I thought he would. But during that 2 weeks of being in so much pain and not being able to think about food because it hurt too much, I was able to really kind of talk to the Lord about a better sustainable way to, to live a healthier lifestyle. It's funny. And I can laugh about it because I could clearly see that was a direct response to a prayer about how am
Oh,
I
you
going to
want me to
handle
help
this?
you? Sure.
Let's just let this toothache happen.
I have that exact same.
Sorry.
I have that story too. Like I think I've told you I was poor. Like when at this one point I didn't have any money and I really wanted to replace some rotten railroad ties on the back of my house. I had some trellises that had been beautifully railroad tied probably 25, 30 years before and the railroad ties were all rotting. So I called my neighbor who does excavation, Kevin Phelan, and he came over and he said, "Oh, I just got these blocks from a business that I bought out, and they have these 6 foot long blocks by about 2 feet tall. And I can just bring my crane in here and I can just plop them all down, rebuild you. It'll be easy." And I went and I was like, okay. So I went in the house and I said, Lord, I don't have any money to pay Kevin to do this or to do that. So I can't do that. And so I just want you to give me something free. And so then I had this idea, I'll just get broken concrete and stack it up. They call it, it's just urbanite or something. It's this ridiculous thing. I spent the next 3 years like laboring, excruciating labor, like layering all these things and making trellises and doing this stuff. And then it was so much work and I had to collect this broken concrete. But I was like, oh, God gave me an answer. And at the end of the third summer, I had something that I could work with, and it turned out actually nicer than you would expect. But I had like, I don't know, probably 10 steps and 3 layers of stuff and then a little patio at the top and it turned out pretty good. Then and then the spirit says to me, "You could have prayed to make money and then you would have had 3 summers." And it was like basically, he basically said, "You put an expectation on the Lord. You put a boundary on the Lord. Lord, I have to do this with no money." And he's like, "Sure, I'll help you out." And he did help me out, but I didn't think, I could have gone and worked for 2 or 3 months anywhere and had all the money I needed to do this little job because Kevin was practically going to give me this stuff for free. I mean, almost, it was going to be, but I wouldn't, but I wasn't, I didn't leave it open enough. I boxed the Lord in. He's like, okay, if that's how you want to do it, let's see you do it.
Yeah. Wow. Interesting story.
Uh, I still have it. It's still okay, but it's not going to last nearly as long. I was looking in my little tiny box to see my answer.
Yeah. So sometimes the most simple thing you can do to spot a miracle is change your perspective. Don't put God in a box. Let him do whatever he's going to do and step back and take a look. He is here blessing us all the time. The question is, can we see what he's doing in our life?
And can we wait for him? Can we wait for him? Can we praise him in something else? You know, take your mind off your fixation and find other ways to praise him or serve somebody else, because he will get through to you.
He will. And if you have a funny story like that, like mine or Kristen's, drop it in the comments, guys. Come on. Let's have a chat about it. We know we're not the only one that is experiencing. Well, I don't know. I mean, sometimes we see the miracles, sometimes we don't. Sometimes they're in the simplest ways and ways we don't expect. What matters is that we give credit where credit is due. And that's all we've got for today because we're out of time, but we will see you on the next one. Have a good week. Bye.